What's up? What's up? Welcome to another market recap. Today is May 5th, 2025. So last week I decided to take the rest of the week off after Wednesday, the 30th, I would say. Thursday was my birthday, and I just honestly didn't really feel like trading for the rest of the week. I kind of felt like taking the time to kind of reflect on the past year of my life and trading. On some of the goals that I did accomplish and some of the ones I fell short on. And then kind of really get myself centered and plan out what the next year of my life looks like. So that's what I did last week and over the weekend. So with that being said, there's a couple of things I'm going to change with when it comes to my approach with these micro time frames. As we kind of discussed in some of these videos now that I've been posting for the past month or so, is I've missed a lot of trades due to positions pulling back within a pip or two of 0.382 of fib, but then reversing before it would tap to put me into the trade. So I'm going to implement two different things. One, I'm going to go back to using live entries, but not a traditional live entry. Like a normal live entry for me would say be waiting for like a micro time frame break of a trend, like on a 5-second or a 15-second. But I don't get those a lot of the time. But what I will switch to is using a live entry and watching price. And if I start to notice that it's decelerating 1 or 2 pips above my target entry of 0.382, I'll just go ahead and enter the trade. As well as I'll be okay with entering a trade 1 to 2 pips higher than where I've previously been at. So I've been very strict the past 2 months on everything has to be entered at 0.382. But like if I was position sizing, let's switch one of these trades. Something like this, for instance, right? If price would pull back to a little bit, let's enlarge this, make it a little easier to see. If price would pull back to, a little bit above this, about 1 to 2 pips, and start to decelerate right here before it would trigger a limit, then I would just go ahead and enter this live. So that's one approach I'm going to take. And I guess the second piece of that is that I'm now going to be okay with entering, not necessarily exactly at 0.382, but 1 to 2 pips higher. And that may require me to enter live. And then the second thing I'm going to implement is I am going to start taking MBO trades this month. So for the month of May, my aim is to take these MBOs, which really these MBOs they're mainly like wave 2, wave 4 kind of plays on the 1 hour time frame. I think really that's what lines up to be a really good kind of like micro breakout play. I had this one on watch today, so if we kind of get into the watch list of what I had available today in front of me. To start the day at 7 a.m., I didn't have much as on the terms of a normal kind of setup with an IBO, CBO, something like that. But I did have this MBO on watch. I stayed out of it for kind of 2 reasons. It ended up playing out. Kind of looking back on this, I think I probably should have taken this trade. But let's go back to like the 7 o'clock hour here. So at the 7 o'clock hour, price is sitting here, right? I had this kind of resistance line drawn in here, which if you go look at the daily time frame here, we can blow it up. It has a decent kind of resistance level, like price is bounced off of this level. So it's kind of a zone. Like if I come in here and draw a box, right? Like it's kind of this zone. But so knowing that, I'm like, all right, I have decent resistance. and price is just kind of chilled, gone, and like a steady kind of stream in a way. So it's what I look for when it comes to these MBOs. And I liked how price is starting to consolidate here and starting to give me, a triangle pattern. I just would have preferred this to stall at this kind of resistance level and then break from here. If price would have stalled here and not basically given a false break first, but just stalled here and then broke out, I 100% would have taken this trade. The piece that sketched me out about it is that it had already broke out of the resistance level I'd drawn in, right? Like I'd want clean price action. I'm looking for just a nice pattern. And to me, clean price action is not having this kind of false break right here. So, and I originally had this kind of position size for something like this. As I was watching at the beginning of the hour, I was watching for a break right here. And if it broke right here at that point, I was entertaining taking it. Granted, if it did break like that, it would have probably ended up being a loss. But I think a much better entry would have been if price would have just consolidated in here a little bit more and then broke towards the more squeezy portion of the triangle is what I was primarily looking for. And I think that would be necessarily for me, kind of a picture perfect MBO is slam into some kind of solid 1 hour resistance or support. The more kind of crap I can line up in that area, the better. So if there's EMAs, there's horizontal, if there's trend lines, if there's just more and more kind of support I can get on the 1 hour time frame for stuff for the prices to slam into to give a reversal. That's primarily what I'm looking for. At a minimum, I need some kind of decent level. And I had that on this. I had this decent kind of level here, multi-touch on the 1 hour. So it was kind of bare minimum. I think preferably I would have liked this level to line up with R1 and then maybe an EMA be here and the horizontal level. At that point, I think you'd have a really solid trade. So, but anyway, I stayed out for that primary reason. And then if we get out of replay here, the next following hour, so at 8 o'clock, nearly 9 o'clock. I think it was 8 o'clock, 8:20, 8:30. Actually close to almost the end of the 8 o'clock hour. It did break this overall trend. And I was sitting here and I was watching this and I was tempted to enter this because now at this point I'm like, okay, this is essentially a false break. And now it's breaking back down again. But it's which direction is going to go at this point? Right? Is it just going to false break this way and now go back up this way? Did I read this pattern incorrectly? So I had some doubt, and so I stayed out. And ultimately, the trade would have played out for probably 1.23, something like that. More than likely would have exited on a break here. So what would this be? Yeah, about 1.2 or so. That's what we would have been looking at. So just a stop clip above the highs. So a 15 pip position, an entry on the break of the trend line on the 2 minute, which I'd also entertain doing a 30-second break, I think, on these MBOs. Though, as I've been paying attention to them for the past couple of months, there are times when you'll get a lot of false breaks on the 30-second time frame that don't break on the 2 minute, and then they end up reversing. So I think in a perfect world, I'd prefer the 2 minute break as long as I can still get my position sizing I'm after. So yeah, it would have been a nice trade. So, and there wasn't really much in the way of the target. There's still plenty of room on the 1 hour to move to the 50. There's plenty of room to move the 200. There wasn't really much in the way on the 2 minute at that point. So it was kind of free to just flow down there, which it did. So I think I could potentially label this as a mistrade today. But yeah, I'd prefer this not to be there. But I know since I've been paying attention to them, I've seen this occur a number of times. I've had similar patterns like this. I've seen these false breakups, and then I've watched it just immediately crash back down and then go in the direction that I want the trade to go. So I don't know. I think for the time being is something just to kind of document and track, kind of like we've been documenting and tracking the entry point for the normal IBOs and CBOs in the micro timeframes. To now we've kind of determined that we need to raise our entry by a pip or two. I think this will be a similar kind of thing. I prefer not to happen, so I'm probably not going to take trades that do this for the first month and just wait for the kind of like picture perfect MBOs. And if I get those, I'll take them. But I'll also track this kind of price action. And if I notice this starts to occur more and more and more, and I'm missing trades because of it, then check and adjust come next month. So that was the first trade I had of the day on watch. And then the next 3 hours or so, I had nothing. Price really wasn't doing a whole lot. I think at one point I was interested in dollar CAD, but it wasn't really a great trade. I think it ended up playing out, but it fit like a CBO-esque, but not like a real true like price giving a nice kind of reversal. It's a kind of a discretionary play. So I chose to stay out of it. But at 11 o'clock, I had pretty much yen and Swiss on watch. And they did not pull back to present entries. They just kind of all went and pushed to target. So I had this dollar Swiss here, which was a CBO. We'll go back in time here to make this a little easier. So a CBO at the start of the hour, kind of nice little, bouncing off of recent support on the 1 hour. Nice break of a trend right here. Clean kind of push. I'm just looking for a pullback to 0.382 area to enter. And then a target at R1 in the 10-minute 200 for 2-to-1. And it just continued to push the target and didn't really pull back. Similar thing here on dollar yen. And then CAD Swiss, I don't think quite made it to the target. But at this point, really dollar Swiss and dollar yen are the primaries. CAD Swiss, CAD yen are secondaries for me. And since dollar Swiss had already kind of pushed the target, then for me, it's going to invalidate CAD Swiss as well. And then CAD yen, similar thing to dollar yen, it already pushed to my target here. Granted, it didn't quite hit the 200 EMA on the 10-minute. And it has not quite hit the 50 EMA on this 1 hour. They're the same thing. So it still has room to move to that. So I still think there would be potential for price to kind of pull back and then continue. But primarily, I'm looking for price to give me this initial pullback and then a go, because that's the highest probability that this trade is going to play out. If it just continues to push to my target, just the probability starts to go down. So, and then the 12 o'clock hour and 1 o'clock hour, I didn't really have anything else either. So these trades kind of just went sideways after they hit the target areas. I was watching around the 12 o'clock hour. I think I still have that watch list. Yeah. Some 4-hour setups. So, but none of these setups really kind of occurred. So I was looking at this Aussie dollar for like an IBO play. I was looking at this euro dollar for another as well, kind of IBO play. I don't love these setups. I mean, this price action right here is just kind of weird, but I do feel like it still has like room on this 1 hour time frame to push back down to, this kind of support area, as well as the 200s, the daily 50. So I still think it has kind of a bias to go short. And these trades still could possibly play out. I mean, Aussie dollar could have potentially been entered and would probably be a 1 hour trade right now. Euro dollar could also have potentially been entered with a lower entry just off the EMA. You really just be sitting at break even. Pound dollar could have been entered. Again, just be sitting at break even. Dollar yen, when I was looking at this, though, I was looking at it for like an IBO style play to just completely push past this. And then I was watching this dollar Singapore. And I think this trade has potential to still possibly play out here based off of like the 4-hour time frame. But what I don't like is if you switch to a daily, right? Kind of lay out and you're looking at the daily chart, like you still have some pretty bearish candles right here. You don't really have a bullish reversal yet, as well as you still have room to move to the recent lows. And I could see this trade moving to the recent lows before it reverses, because this is kind of based off of this daily time frame. It's kind of just in middle of no man's land. Like it doesn't really have support here or anything. A better kind of level to take a reversal off of would be if it was testing these previous lows. So, but after the 1 o'clock hour, I pretty much just stopped watching the charts. So no trades for me for the day. Potential miss trade on this MBO, but we'll see how things go with these for the next month. And then the only kind of setups I had that were valid for the day that I liked didn't pull back to present an entry for me. So, and then I guess the third adjustment I'm going to make for this month in conjunction with the changing my pip entries as well as implementing MBOs, I'm also going to change my target a little bit. So I'm adjusting my target to 2R a day. So if I hit 2R in a day, I will stop trading for the day. And then 4R for the week. So I've been going pretty hard on these charts for the past few months, like really diving into micros, and I've been spending anywhere from 7, 9, 10 hours a day in front of the charts, which has been fun to an extent. Like it's definitely a learning experience, but that does start to cause wear after a while and like mental fatigue. So my aim with adjusting my target is you basically just give myself more time to reset. Another reason I kind of took the time off of last week is I was really starting to feel burnout last week. I had taken no time off in months, and I had just been grinding. I'm trying to figure out these micro time frames. And I was feeling a lot of kind of like mental fatigue and like fogginess. And I went from being like really clear headed on all my decision making when it came to everything I was looking at in front of me in the charts to making like small little errors here and there, from hesitating on entering trades or, things of that nature. So really I'm looking to simplify the target. And with like a 4-hour a week target for me, theoretically, I have seen, since I've been tracking all this for the past few months, anywhere from 8 to 12R a week in opportunity of potential trades that I've been able to identify. There's probably more trades out there, but that's ones I've been able to see, and that's the average of everything I've seen. So the stuff that's played out and the stuff that hasn't played out, it's essentially averaged anywhere from, I think the lowest week was 8.12 and the highest week was 12.54 or something like that, R in a week that was potentially there to be captured that I put my eyes on. So with that kind of in my frame of mind now, that realistically, I don't need to capture the 8 or the 10 or the 12. But knowing that it exists allows me to be a little bit more patient for like quality setups, not force a trade, and have like a day like today where there really wasn't anything that was to my standard to take. So I didn't take anything. And the things that were didn't pull back, right? But once I hit my weekly target of 4R or more, just depends on when the trades close, right? Then I'll stop for the week. And then I won't trade anymore until the following week. So that could be hit in one trade. I mean, some of these MBOs I've position size for a 4-to-1. And then, or it could be hit in 4, 5, 6 trades. It just depends on what's in front of me and the strike rate of everything. So, but either way, that was my day. That's the update, and that's the approach I'll be taking for this month. And that's all I got. So I will catch you guys tomorrow. See you.